Actually, on the topic of these pseudo gestapos, have you ever guys watched Starship Troopers?
I've heard of it. I'm very
What about
familiar with
you,
it. I'm aware
Randy?
of
I
its
have not.
famousness. I have not actually watched it. No.
Yes, can you explain that to Peter then?
Explain
If you
what
know
to
it.
Peter.
The Starship Troopers, or like the basic idea of what it is.
If I'm remembering correctly,
Mhm.
which there's a very good chance I'm not.
Yeah, that's
Starship
fair enough.
Troopers is the one with the giant fucking bugs, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like I've seen some fucking movie or something including it. I don't even fucking know.
Mhm.
All I remember about Starship Troopers is there are space,
Mhm.
space guns, giant fucking bugs. It's considered to be very good.
Yes. The thing is, it's not considered good because of what it is, but of how it's presented.
Hmm.
Okay.
So now
what
let me
does that
explain
mean?
this. Some more people can describe if what do you think if the Nazis would have won World War II?
Okay.
Like
I mean,
the
Are-
fascism.
are
So
we
let's say
discussing,
like
like-
fascism won World War II.
So Wolfenstein.
Yeah. Okay. So no, think about Starship Troopers would have been a movie made unironically in Wolfenstein. If that makes
Wait,
sense.
hold on.
It would be taken at face value, literally, as like not like in its deeper meaning to it and how we observe it as a society, but in the sense of like how like a fascist society will view it as an actual movie that is not critiquing fascism, but it's just more just depicting real life, beliefs and actions, but in a different setting.
Okay.
So.
Hmm.
Yeah, okay, so that's what but like
I
Starship
mean,
Troopers,
I don't know.
it's more this ironic critique of fascism, while the book is kind of an opposite, where it's more of a praising of fascism. It's really fucking weird. But
That's not kind of fucking funky.
yeah, I know it's really weird, But it more or less describes how where it's like this sort of like
Yeah.
again, this is all interpretation here at this point, so just take this as you will. You may have a different interpretation. It's like fine by me, but I see it as more like akin to what happens when this a fascist society goes to its natural conclusion. Like you saw what I don't know if you're big readers or knowledgeable of World War One, but the what happened during the Soviet army march to Berlin.
I do not. Please enlighten me.
Okay, so more or less, I mean, I'm not gonna go into details because it's like a lot of rape and murder, but then that's not what I'm talking about. But the thing is, what happened was the Germans were literally giving their own kids guns and told them to shoot at like the Soviets, as literally their last defense, And you can sort of see the sort of same parallel near the end of Starship Troopers, where you see this, like I think last ad, if I remember correctly, where you have a kid say, "Yeah, I'm doing my part." It's like a little kid and like a more.
Is that? Oh, is that meme? Listen, I'm doing my part.
Yeah, more or less. It's actually a kid, because it's sort of like these bugs are on sort of like the Soviets, if that makes sense. In that case, where it's like it's the last stretch before Berlin.
That's
Oh.
pretty
Yeah.
interesting.
So it's like if that makes sense, I sort of see it as a
this
movie.
is.
If the Nazis made a sci-fi movie, unironically, and like how their society would see it without the removing of that, like the Nazi not ideology, but removing features like and so like Jews, it's the bugs. You know what I mean? Like this sort of like that's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, that is pretty interesting.
At least that's my take on it.
Yeah.
No, but here's my hot take. We have more or less arrived to that point here in the United States as you speak right now.
Okay.
So, like, Rand, you remember like the whole war on terror? It's been a thing since all of us were born, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's what's really fucked up is like you see like how I don't know if you remember this, but like when we were younger, when the wars were still like happening, like well in the American psyche, that you still remember like those like war movies and like Transformer movies, which I would just consider borderline propaganda.
Yeah.
And like how people are saying like it's more the same thing, like how the Nazis would have made like Starship Troopers unironically, But
yeah, basically when like every movie had a bad guy from the Middle East.
Yeah, no, exactly. But think about that. But instead of it being like the Nazis, the Americans,
Yeah.
But more so doing the same thing with the war of Iraq and Iran, not Iran, and Afghanistan. Like this whole war on terror, this continuous warmongering almost, this jingoism. Then you get movies like this unironic moves like Transformers, where it's like, Jesus Christ, this is really fucked up. I mean, it's a good action movie, I guess, with a cool explosion. Like nothing to remove like from the director's ability to make some cool ass stuff. But again, that's what I mean. This unironic sort of thing where you could kind of make it same connection, like where Starship Troopers was an ironic critical thinking of fascism. You see this unironic sort of like kind of militaristic here with American movies, with Transformers and stuff.
So, question: do we have a current bad guy country?
I mean, if you mean everyone in the world, right? I mean, like China mainly.
No,
I guess
no,
at this point.
I mean for movies, because for a long time it was Russia. Every bad guy in every movie was Russian.
Yeah.
And then for a while it was the Middle East. Do we have a current bad guy country for movies, or is it still just kind of whatever?
It's whatever at this point, because the thing is, it has been Chinese, because Hollywood is a big industry in China, so they don't want to lose the Chinese market, if that makes sense. So they're not going to put a bad guy Chinese person, and like
fair.
Yeah, and and you see like with Russia, it's like no one really care. Like nothing against like Russian people or anything. It's like not an offense to them, but most people don't really fucking care about a Russian bad guy, if that makes sense. Maybe unless it's like some espionage movie like in Europe, like you maybe have some Serbian.
Yeah, the
like,
concept of a Russian villain is kind of been slowly fading.
Yeah, because I mean there can be Russian villains, but the main issue, but the big feature is he or she is the villain, not he or she is a Russian villain, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just he or she is this. Oh, she's just he or she is just a Russian who's a villain, Yeah, the Russian is less, the nationality is less emphasized now, more or less, and it's more like, oh, you're a bad guy.
Yeah.
But like the thing is, what I find interesting is like you see like how in our media we portray like Chinese as, like, oh, like they're spying on their own like people, then like Peter, you're Chinese, right? Yeah, like you're from mainland China, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
You're from mainland China, like. Okay, anything like very specifically, because I know you were born in China, but like no idea where. Beijing, so like the capital.
Oh, tight. I didn't know that.
Okay, cool. So more or less, so you see, you remember hearing about those like NSA leaks, guys?
No, I don't.
From many years ago, like with the whole like, oh, the United States government is spying on its people.
Yes. Okay, that's
Edward Snowden. Yeah, that stuff. And then you see recent years where people are criticizing why the Chinese companies have their fingers in like their own like tech industry, like so obviously you're like, oh, these are state-run government like owned companies, and then you realize like the United States is doing the same thing with Silicon Valley, like I mean the thing is the NSA has put massive funding. I mean, it started with Reagan in the 80s where they put massive funding because they were in threat with these Japanese and Korean tech companies from the 80s and 90s. So they had to, fight these companies. So they started funding these like Silicon Valley startups, in like California and all, right? There's nothing really wrong, with that. But then you see the connection got more and more stronger, and you see these more connection, or you see these Silicon Valley guys, are working in the federal government as like CIA or NSA people now, and vice versa. So and then people are saying like, oh, there's a separation. There isn't really a separation though, if you think about it.
Fair.
What is separating them? It's just one is unofficially run by the. I'm not saying the companies Google's run by the government. No, that's stupid. But I'm saying, but you're telling me that one will Google not bend backwards for the other. Also, with China, it seems it's more obvious. Like there's a clear distinction. With the United States, it's kind of murky because you see like Apple like advertise over your privacy, yet they would bend backwards to the U.S. government with stuff like, yeah, we'll give you the Apple Cloud backups or something.
Yeah, I guess it is a little screw-esque. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I think it's more akin to this because I don't know if you really realize we live in a more authoritative nation more than anything else in recent years. Well, not really recent, for a long time now. I think even before any of us were born. But it became more obvious of how authoritative it has become.
Okay.
Like okay, sorry, I'm forgetting this. But so do you guys understand? I understand you guys aren't the biggest political or economics theorists, guys. But how do you think American and the Chinese economies work compared to each other?
Well, my understanding of it is that we owe like a shitload of money to the Chinese government because we buy a bunch of shit.
I think, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like how the economics work compared to each other.
I don't know.
The thing is, they're nearly the same.
Okay.
So the thing is, most people, you see the sort of thing. I think we're going into a new Cold War because people are saying, like, you hear in the news like China's becoming the next superpower and all,
Yeah.
and the whole like Hong Kong thing. Like you heard about the Hong Kong thing, right?
Oh my god. Oh, yes, obviously.
Yeah, no. But if you see that, like, you could make similarities to other stuff, like with Hawaii. Like Hawaii wanting independence. Or like the independence movement in Hawaii. Because it was for all intents and purposes invaded by the United States and becoming a state.
Yeah, no,
big
we
ass
shut
military base. Okinawa wanting to move the United States out of the island, right?
Mhm.
So how is that any different? You understand what I mean? Where these authority, like the Chinese like government and the United States government, more enforcing their own distinction on these areas where the people don't want them. Albeit there are differences, there are major differences, and but I just find it interesting where it's like people don't realize that China is more of a reflection of the United States. That's what I'm getting to.
Yeah.
And how our governments work and policy wise. They're yeah, if you're saying China's bad for X, Y, and Z reasons, the United States is doing the same thing, but to you as well.
We're calling the same shit.
Exactly. Like
exactly.
those things are bad, but if you want to fix this, we need to fix our own issue because that's going to bite us in the back as well if you try to fix
Start
that,
with your own
in another
goddamn
country or try to, because the United States have acted as the world police for how many years now after the fall of the Soviet Union, like 40 years or so. It's not going to happen anymore because you have China as a rivaling world power at this point now. United States can't do shit.
We've been
like
putting
this
our hands in everyone's shit, and now finally there's someone else to be like, "Hey, put your shit in our shit. There's gonna be problems."
Yeah, I know. Like the thing is, the government has our foreign policy has more so the idea of we will not have any repercussions. It's like it's like either I'm taking a fucking cookie from you. Am I and getting repercussions from you, Randy?
Nope. You live full
Exactly. Like that's what I mean. Like they think no one's gonna attack them. That's been clearly wrong from multiple reasons. Like with 9/11.
That's not a very good idea.
Yeah, I know, but this idea of no repercussion, that's our whole foreign policy. No one's gonna fucking fight us back. And then you see if China's like, yeah, we can fight you back in different ways. And then people are like giving the shit like, no, China's bad, motherfucker. It's the same thing. Just it's a mirror, but it's like excuse me for possibly racist remarks. I'm not trying to be here.
Talking more of a political thing than a
not like I know bad wording, but they're just the Chinese people are just you, but Chinese. That's it.
We're all doing the same shit.
Yeah,
exactly. You could say that with any nation. But the thing is the Chinese thing. But the governments are the same.
Yeah, it's as if like one fucking robber goes like to rob a house and he comes out like he sees another robber goes in a different house like
exactly.
You're a fucking criminal.
Yeah, but the thing is with the Chinese and United States thing, the allegories, the governments are nearly the same as well. Maybe two different systems, no denial of that. But our systems are being eroded, by multiple years of decades of corruption and such. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Like, I know if you're,
corruption.
I know you
That's
guys aren't the big news people,
Nope.
But you heard about what was happening. There was this. It got blew up a few days ago.
Nope.
Where there was like a federal police, arresting a person for no reason in like it was Portland, Oregon.
Yeah, I did actually hear about that.
Yeah, it's like what the fuck,
There's a lot of issues.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and here's another hot take.
There's a lot
Our
of
police
issues
force is
with
just
the
the
US
Gestapo.
police force.
They're not.
Oh yeah.
They're doing
I've
a
heard
bad
of being,
job.
like,
Yeah, I know. The thing is, I mean, I'm not saying like they are killing, like the police are killing Jews, instead of Jews, it's just black people, but besides the point,
I saw something very funny the other day.
Mhm. Yeah, what?
On Reddit talking about police. It was like, well, to all the good cops out there, we understand that you exist, but as some of your friends would put it, you have a type.
Yeah.
Like they're not doing a good job, which is bad because they're the most like of all the people that need to like keep their shit locked. The police are pretty high fucking up there.
Yeah. The thing is with the police, there's no repercussions for them, you could say the same thing with the Gestapo. No, there's different reasons for what they each did. The police,
Yeah.
but police have no repercussions for what they do. It's
Mhm.
really the same applying
Get
of
to a
the
desk
American
job
foreign
and
policy, but as domestic policy, as how we rule the country. That shit's fucked.
It ain't good. It's a bad time.
The only time where the police don't act like jackasses whenever there's a motherfucking protesters with guns. Then there's like, okay, yeah, we're not gonna start a full-on fight here. Like you remember with the whole like the Karens, like saying fighting for like getting their haircuts, and they brought their husbands with their guns and protested.
Mm-hmm.
The police never attacked them. But when you see a bunch of these people who are like peacefully protesting, the police attack them because they have no repercussions to do so. They have no reason to not.
There's no defense.
Exactly. And then I remember there's a protest about a few days ago in like Charleston where you had a bunch of these mostly Black Lives Matter people like holding guns and like almost protesting around like a statue or something, right? The police didn't do anything because if they did, they would have gotten shot.
There would have been a fucking fight.
Yeah.
Something would have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, so everyone
Exactly. Like
gangsters,
fucking
gangsters until the
everyone's
protesters
willing to
shoot
pick on
back.
anyone as long as they can't fight you back.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's just more of a accumulation of what's been happening over the decades. This kind of blew up in our faces in our generation.
It's not great.
Yeah.
But we're doing our best. We're trying to figure it out slowly.
Yes. So yes, actually, I did tell you about this, right? And my rant was going to get a bit dark,
There.
Yes. Sorry about it, making the whole thing a bit more depressing, but
It's
but
fine.
besides the point.
The hope is that if we lock this shit down and figure it out while we're young, as we get older and we kill off the old people.
So you're trying to kill the boomers?
Hopefully over time we can figure it out. I mean, I'm not saying that like old people have to die
Wait a
fucking or anything
second.
like that. It's crazy. Because I love my grandma very dearly.
Yeah, I know I'm being sarcastic.
But at the same time, I think there is a certain rut of tradition that we're kind of stuck in. And it's unfortunate that tradition is systematic corruption.
Yeah, no.
So I'm hoping that every generation we seem to like kind of figure out what shit is fucked, and B become a lot more into killing ourselves jokes, which I've noticed is kind of funny.
I think it's just more kind of our economic issues.
Every generation seems to like themselves less
funny,
and
am I right?
just try to be more woke.
The thing is, it's more of an issue that the realization of they're going to be not as there's a good chance they're not going to be prosperous as the former generations, because we sort of started seeing that with the Gen X, with the boomers, it's like, there's a good chance we might not be as well off as with our parents with the whole rise of Japan and Korea and the tech sector, right? And then you have the rise of China and the manufacturing, like more globalization kind of ending all manufacturing in the United States that's not necessary.
Yeah.
And because of that, you're having these people who are like, oh yeah, we're not able to get jobs. These people are telling us to get college degrees, which is like, okay, that's good. More education done and generally does mean more well off, quality of life. But the thing is, as a generation, Gen Z and we're Gen Z and millennials are, even though we're gonna be more higher educated than our previous generations, we're gonna have a lower quality of life.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
even if it's not our generation, even if it's a generation or two after us, I'm hoping that we can, over time, start to figure this shit out. Or I'll fucking die. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, to be frank, I think the time is too late at this point. At this time, it's just more like hunkering down and make sure past the worst, at this point. At least with climate change.
Well, didn't we? Yeah.
Make sure you stay alive.
The way I see it, either we'll figure it out or we'll fucking die. Who knows?
Fair enough.
We'll get there.
I mean, to be frank, I think we're just going to likely die. That's my bet.
Yeah, fair.
Because, like you're seeing the whole coronavirus thing. Our government wants us to, the federal government wants to put kids back into the public schooling in the summer, not in the summer, in the fall.
Schools.
A lot of the schools want to reopen
people
because
will
they
die.
want that money.
I mean, we're talking about like public schooling, like with, because you can sort of realize the government doesn't really see the public schooling as a necessity. They sort of see it as like more like how just keep the kids away so the parents can work 8 hours a day for how many weeks. Like, you understand what I mean? It's not seen as an actual like benefit to the country or community. It's just more as a way to put away the kids so the parents can work. So, but schooling kind of was originally during the Industrial Revolution. It kind of evolved more because the nations kind of was, oh, that's kind of important.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you see, the government, it's like the government doesn't give two shits. They just want the parents to start working again.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. This is why I'm gonna move to New Zealand or Canada, hopefully.
Good luck.
Yes.
I would love to move to Australia, except I hate every fucking thing in that country.
To be frank, yeah.
Bro, I would
Spiders
move to,
are
like,
cursed as fuck.
I mean, to be frank,
Northwestern
Australia
Europe.
is really just considered just the United States, but just more what you consider, but the South,
Fair.
like Southern Hemisphere, more or less. I mean, that's what it is considered,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, maybe I'll start working on a second language so I can fucking dip out of here before America explodes. We'll figure
Yeah,
out.
I mean, there's always Europe, and then there's some. Well, I mean, I don't know. You kind of would look sore out in like Asia or something. So maybe something like New Zealand or
Push comes
Australia.
to shove, I'm sure I'll look good baked in an atomic glaze. It'll be fine.
Yeah, and atomically. I love that sound.
Mm-hmm.
I'm blowing up in style.
All I'm saying is I'm gonna leave a real nice corpse.
Fair enough. Crispy, I hope. Wait, actually, have any of you guys played the Fallout games?
Yes, I have.
What's your favorite one?
4, because it's the only one I've
No.
played extensively.
Okay, I see.
Okay,
Yeah, anything but
I have-
Not
76.
76.
I did
you
forget
mean?
I did actually play quite a bit of 76 as well.
I mean, hasn't it gotten better over the few months?
Who legitimately gives a shit?
Fair enough. I've just heard it's gotten better, but I don't know. It's like it should have been like that in the beginning.
I played that game for the first month it came out, and I just cannot rouse myself to give a shit about any news I hear.
Fair enough.
I really tried.
Fair enough. That's understandable. Yeah. Oh yeah. Do you want
Hey
to
guys, just
close
like a
up real
reminder,
quick
it's
now?
been an
On the
hour.
podcast.
Yeah. Anyway, so thank you for listening to the Oh God Why podcast, episode 15 or 16. I think it's 16 at this point. I think. No, it's 15.
Number 1.
Okay, thank you, Randy. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's me, your host, Umar Aslam, my co-host, Randy, and Peter. You guys have anything to say before we log off?
Be sure. Remember to pick up porn games while they're on sale.
This has been
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this has been
thank
quite
you
an
for listening,
episode,
and
I
hope to
hope
see you guys next
enjoyed it
week.
as much
Goodbye.
as we enjoyed it.
Bye.
Goodbye.